Okay, I think we get started. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this Lunch and Learn webinar for LawNet members. We're going to go over the benefits that your law firm should receive from CRM and how to maximize them, and the pitfalls that you're going to experience and how to minimize and resolve them. My name is Simon McNider. I'm from Prompter. I've spent nearly 30 years in professional services CRM, over 25 years in law firm, and that's in-house and as a CRM supplier and servicer. So I've also written a book on CRM and the GDPR for law firms, and I have 2 national CRM awards. So let's go through the benefits and the pitfalls. Now, we are going to circulate the slides and a recording of this webinar. So please, you can make notes if you want to or not. Feel free to use the time to eat your sandwiches or whatever you've got down for lunch. Thank you. Let's get going. So the benefits of the systems that you're looking at. Well, the biggest benefit of law firm CRM systems is that you get to understand your complex relationships with your clients, your prospects, your work referrers. The biggest feedback from users of the systems that I run is that it shows everybody what's going on and how well people know each of the clients or the contacts of the firm. And in the click of a finger, you can see if you're after an introduction to somebody or just want to know about them, you can immediately see who knows who and how well they know them. Now compare that to everybody having their own spreadsheets. Okay, so that's the biggest benefit of a CRM system. You can also use them as a central store of all of your business development. So whether it's bids, pipelines and funnels, award entries, events, mail shots, that sort of thing, these systems will cope with all of that and they'll pull it all together far better than having post-it notes on the back of a door or lists in Word or Excel in drawers and things like that. When it comes to mail shots, one of the sort of the practicalities of these systems is that your large firm-wide mailings are far easier. Take, for example, a Christmas card. If you're doing an eCard, so you're sending an email to everybody or you're doing posted, you generally have to go around asking everybody who are your contacts and things like that. With a central system, you just go, right, well, if it's a small mailing, right, the contacts of the employment team or the property conveyancing team or the private client team, for example. If it's a Christmas card, you say, well, contacts of everybody that we like or our best contacts or everybody. Okay, they're the biggest benefits, and I'm going to show you later how to maximize on those things for your lawyers. Okay. Now, the pitfalls, these stop all of that happening. So let's go through some of them. So there are 3 areas to pitfalls: the technology of the software systems and the IT, whatever you like to call it, the data quality, and then the users, the staff, the lawyers, the PAs, the marketing teams. So let's just go through them one at a time. So tech. Most systems are overly complicated for the normal human. Okay? They're all in a race to do more and more. So they have more features, and then this one wants to beat that one, and then that one wants to beat this one, and all that sort of stuff. You've got more and more features. Now, if you imagine a database has 100 buttons on it, there's only a few people in your firm that really want and can utilize that. The majority of your staff, let's just say 95% of them, won't be able to cope with a system with hundreds and hundreds of buttons and features and fields and pages and all that sort of stuff. And I'll come into a bit later how to resolve that sort of thing. So just bear in mind that the systems that you're looking at are generally database orientated for technical people, not for the average human or a normal lawyer or PA or marketing person who just wants to get on with their job. Now, with a complex system that has hundreds of different features, you get very complex user guides. Now, they're designed for the system administrators, the IT people or the marketing people that are going, right, I've installed this and I need to operate it from behind the scenes. So you have to bear in mind that you have to rewrite all of that for your users, because you can't give a document that's tens or hundreds of pages long to everybody. And on top of that, the cost of your CRM system isn't your only cost. So you buy it, yes, well, you have to pay for it every single year. You have to buy add-ons as well. So most systems don't come with an email tool. So if you want to send emailing or event invitations or manage events, you probably have to have a bolt-on. When it comes to training, you're likely to have to pay for additional training. And in continual training, you've got to work that into your budgets as well. A lot of systems don't actually have alerting tools. So it's making the users go into the database to find the information. And from my experience, they don't do that. They don't want to go into a database and hunt for information. Whether they can or can't, they just don't have the willpower all the time. So just bear that in mind, that the purchase price of your CRM system isn't your ongoing long-term total life costs. The data quality. Every user, if you've got a system, you'll know this. And if you haven't, this is what you need to bear in mind, that users will complain about the quality of the information, whether it's out-of-date information, typos in it, contacts are missing, or old contacts are there, or there are duplicate versions of the same person. What you'll find is users are adding all of this information, not really thinking about all the details that are already in the system, and is that person already there? Okay. They're concentrating on, they're doing the legal work for the clients, or it's a PA and a secretary supporting their teams to support the clients. It's not everybody's top of their list to go, do you know what, I'm going to make sure of all the little ticks and boxes to make sure this person isn't in there, all the details are spelled correctly, those sorts of things. But that is a massive, massive stumbling block to anybody using your system, because the easiest thing for them to say is, there's old information in here, there's no use, I'm not using it. Yep, and then you've lost a lot of people. And it's a lot of hard work to get back up to improving the information, to getting them back on board. There is always too much information in these systems. I'm working with a number of clients, and they've had a CRM system for about 20 years. We've got rid of about 80% of their data in there. It's just old and unwanted, and hardly anybody's noticed. And the changing in feedback from the data's rubbish is a very, very different matter now. Okay. Now, duplicates. Duplicates happen whatever you do. There's no point worrying about it too much and scolding the people that add it in. You just have to sort it out behind the scenes. And there are different ways of sorting that out. I'll go through that in the next couple of slides. So data is the next hardest. The technology was, in relation, quite easy to fix. You buy the right one and simplify it. Okay, the data, these systems are only as good as the information that you put in. And all it is information from the lawyers, Outlook, other things, all into the system from your events and your mailings, and they just store it and show you it again. So if you've got poor data, you're going to get poor end results. And the hardest part and the biggest pitfalls of these systems are users. Okay, there's a huge amount of apathy to these. They're not, you have to use it because we're getting the bills out. Users will say, I can't use it, I don't know how to use it, I don't have the time for it, I can't really see the benefit. What on earth's in it for me? It seems like a huge, great big pile of database chores and admin. Yeah, this is where these systems are. Yes, okay, you have to add some things in to get information back out. And I'm going to go over that and how to sort that out in the next slide. So technology is the easiest, then data, and then users. And if you focus on those sorts of things, you'll be all right. A couple of bits of feedback I'm going to give you now from real life, verbatim feedback from users of systems. Now, when I'm managing a CRM system for law firms, I usually do a user survey, an annual user survey, to see how things are going. And each client needs a different thing to focus in on. So that's what we do. So this is verbatim feedback from a user survey from various clients. Talking about a partner, the left-hand one, updating it isn't a 400 per hour job. You're absolutely right. Whoever that was, spot on. It's not. If you're charging your lawyers out at hundreds of pounds an hour, getting them to update the contact details or anything like that is not a good use of their time. Get the cheapest person you can, or the person that specializes in it, to update that sort of information. And then everybody else goes, there's hardly any chores with this. I'm prepared to look at it. And one of my favorite ever quotes, the right-hand side one, is, I found the record, saw it was wrong, thought I should update it, but didn't. This is what you're dealing with. People don't like the information being wrong, but really don't want to update it. So you have to work out how to sort that out. Okay. So let's go through to how to resolve those pitfalls and how to maximize the benefits that you should be receiving from these systems. Again, I'm going to do it from technology, data, and users, split it into those sections. So the technology. Most of the database suppliers have provided database, and users, lawyers, PAs, marketing have to go in to use it. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, do you know what? I want to use a database today. Nobody does that. So make it as simple as possible. Now, the good systems, you just use them via Outlook. Okay, you don't have to use a great big database. So if you can, never mind simplifying it, if you can actually not even get them to use a database or know that they're using a system, a database like that, brilliant, all good. Plenty of systems are accessible via Outlook. Okay. If you have got a database and you go, well, what on earth do we do with this? Because we haven't got an Outlook bolt onto this, simplify it as much as possible. Remove fields, pages, features, remove data out of it until people start to go, hey, where's the XYZ? I was using that. And then you know that the level you've got is the most frequent user you've got. You probably could go a bit lower. But generally, these systems are very complex and they're big and unwieldy. Imagine if you have 100 fields in your database or 100 little things, buttons that someone could use. That's far too much for about 95% of your users. And they'll go, there's 100 buttons too many. 100 buttons. They go, I'm not using it. It'll only suit a few people, maybe some of the people on this call, people like me who go, right, I need a system. Actually, I really don't like a complex system either. If you bring your system down to the bare essentials, you'll get 95% of the users thinking it's all right. So rather than having 100 fields and 100 things to do in the system, think about having 5. And then at least 4 of them will be able to be used by the least IT savvy person in your firm. Okay. Also, don't make your users, your lawyers, your PAs or secretaries hunt for information. It's very rare that they go, do you know what? I wonder if that's in the database. I'm going to go around rooting around. They don't have the time for that. They don't have the willpower. They might not have the skills to do it. Get the system to feed information to them when it's relevant. So, for example, and this helps with relationship building and who knows who as well. If things get added into your system, so it's tracking if people are having meetings or Outlook correspondence, as well as people adding BD notes in to say, oh, I had a phone call with someone, or I had a coffee, or I bumped into them networking, that sort of stuff. Once all that's in your system, rather than making someone go, right, go into the system and see what's happened to your contacts, send them a weekly alert, a weekly summary, Monday morning, all the things that have happened to your contacts from last week. So it could show them their contacts that are being met by colleagues, or it could show them all their contacts that are booking onto webinars or seminars, or their contacts that are clicking on links in newsletters and alerts to read more information. It just helps bring out information. Now, a good news story from this sort of thing, these alerts, is in one of my clients, one of the key partners was visiting the chairman of one of his clients. And just before he had a meeting with them, an alert popped up into the system to say, look, this is who else knows this person, and these are the things that have happened to them. And he read it and noticed that one of his colleagues had been on a charity bike ride with this exact chairperson that they were going to meet. Now, imagine that as a fantastic conversation starter. When that partner goes and meets that person, goes, how did your charity bike ride go with my XYZ partner? How did you get on? What a fantastic starter to a conversation. So the systems are there to help you, but as long as they prompt the average normal human being, that's all good. Don't expect them to go and hunt for information. So, for example, that's a weekly update. You might have a system that says, right, well, a day before the meeting's going to happen, send the lawyer an information pack or a briefing email, whatever you like to call it, that says, this is who you're meeting tomorrow. Here's an update. Here's who knows them. Here's how well they know them. And here's what's the things that have been happening to them. Let everybody go brief to your meeting. Okay, data. As I said earlier, data is always a stumbling block to using these systems. The tech's easy, simplify it. Yeah, as much as you can and automate and make it just absolutely effortless. The data. Most firms have far too much information. If you've got a CRM system, you've probably had it for a long time and there's quite a lot of stuff in it. Nobody wants to delete anything. If you haven't and you've got Excel spreadsheets, I was working with a client that had 100 people and it had more Excel spreadsheets than it had people. Okay. So I like to coin a phrase, spring clean your data. So take your information once a year, give it a good, thorough checking. So with email tools these days, you can send every contact that's got an email, a note, an email to say, look, your details are in our system. We're just checking that they're right and you're getting information that you want to hear about. And if you've got any issues. Now that solves you out for GDPR as well, because you're verifying the information you've got and you're actively showing that you are helping to clean it and maintain it and then removing anyone that doesn't want to be there or you think is unwanted and unneeded. I haven't known a spring clean project that hasn't had fantastic sales results, work lead results, as well as just improving the information and making marketing easier. For example, working with a law firm, we sent a very basic email to say, look, this is your information. Please tell us what you're interested in. And also, what issues have you got in the next 12 months? And one of the respondents came back and said, look, I'm trying to sort out my dad's probate. We're trying to sort it out for 9 years. Well, there you go. Send that email directly to the private client team and they can sort that out. Report on usage. Now, that's not just how many contacts someone added or anything like that, but really the bit that you really want people to do is log their BD and log if they're meeting somebody, because you can get systems that add contacts and update the details anyway. Yeah, you want your lawyers to do the thing that a system or you or centrally someone can't do for them. And nobody knows if someone's picked up the phone or bumped into someone in a networking event or on the train. Okay. Now, one fantastic way of increasing usage is to provide lawyer league tables or lawyer BD leaderboard, whatever you like to call it. And it's simply matching different teams or against different people, depending on if it's the same team, against each other to say who's logging the most details in the system. A bit of competitive spirit will increase the logging of activities in the system or BD notes, whatever you like to call them. Yeah. And that's what you're after. That's when you get suddenly a much bigger picture of the contacts that you're dealing with. And the last one for data is you've got to work out a way of updating the information for lawyers. Yeah, they're not going to do it. And if you ask a PA to say, look, 25% of your job or 10% of your job is updating the details in the system. Come appraisal time, at the end of the year, you're going to go, how much of that? Oh, no, well, I was just busy. I kept being asked to do other things. We were doing something else. The client came in and wanted some stuff. Always, there's something better than updating details. I don't blame anybody, really. So work out a centralized way. Now, if you give that to one marketing person or one central facilities or administrator person, it's going to be one of the worst parts of their job. So you just have to work out how to sort that out, which is why we sort all that out anyway. So there's data. You've got to keep it correct and you've got to find someone to do it. And once you have got a nice, tight amount of information, you're looking for more details on less contacts rather than lots of contacts and not a lot of information. You're onto a winner. Users. Right. So this was the hardest part. Sorting out the tech and then sorting out the data can be done centrally, or however, it just can be done. People, we're all very, very different. Most people are resistant to change. You just try folding your arms the other way. It feels really awkward until you get used to it. Yeah, nobody likes change, but this is what I'm going to suggest. So you've got objections like, I don't know how to use it. It's too complex. And I things like that. Don't train your lawyers in absolutely everything to do with your database. I've been doing it for 25 odd years. Whenever I've spoken to a supplier, they've said, right, the onboarding and the launch process, let's get everybody sat down in meeting rooms, 10 at a time, and we'll give them a 2-hour training session on all the features of the system. If you're charging your lawyer out at hundreds and hundreds of pounds an hour, that is a lot. That is a big expense if you've got suddenly 5 or 10 of them in a room for 2 hours. Yep. Recommendations. Train them on 1 or 2 things that you really want them to do. And you can do it via Zoom these days. The lockdown showed us that we can all work from anywhere. A 15-minute Zoom, brilliant. Run them weekly, and anyone can jump on them onto the refreshers as and so they please. And they can do it from anywhere, from home, from the beach, or from the office. Yep. Just train them on one thing. And that one thing is, please, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer, log your BD. Yep, we can do everything else for you. You're going to need, I'm going to leave making it effortless to the last one, the right-hand side one, use success stories. And also, so these are key people, they're key influences in your firm, whether it's your sponsor of the top of your firm saying you are using this, and these are the benefits we're getting. But once you've found a few senior people that everybody else knows that have gone, yeah, this is useful, and this is how it was useful, sell those stories. Yeah, people buy emotions more than they buy facts and figures, although we all like to think, you know what, this card does this and better than that one, that's the one I want. Yeah. So a couple of examples. I gave the earlier one that a partner found out that someone was going a charity bike ride with his client. Another one, at a client, the employment team had just done a seminar or webinar, and they were all logging their follow-ups in the system. And because they logged it in a central system, they realized that 2 of their team were dealing with 2 people at the same organization that they wanted to target. So they worked out which lawyer to introduce and then get the right person introduced to the right person. And they got the job. Yep. You've got to make the system completely effortless, whether it's as easy as possible system to use or not even use it. Ideally, you'd use it via Outlook, or not even via Outlook, and have the system just punch you information. But you've got to simplify the system. You've just got to make it absolutely effortless for your lawyers. It doesn't sound right, but if you got them not to use it, you'd get much, much more usage. What I mean by that is don't ask them to do data updating and adding contacts and stuff like that. Systems or central teams should be able to do that for them. Just make it absolutely effortless for them to get the benefits out of the system. So they get timely alerts that arrive in their inbox a day before the meeting, or a weekly update. Or maybe they've got a referrer network and they go, do you know what, let's have an alert that who of my key referrers I haven't spoken to, or none of us have spoken to in the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or whatever. Yeah. The system should be feeding them information without them having to spend time and going, right, where do I find that? So I hope that's helpful. So when you get the slides for this, you're also going to get an overview of what Prompter is and how that makes it effortless for your lawyers. There's a couple of paragraphs on me. Feel free to connect. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you want and things like that. Not a problem at all. And I'll leave you with this slide. I hope this has been a useful 25, 30 minutes of your time. I provide weekly hints and tips. If you want that, feel free to subscribe. You'll get the link, and you can do the link, or you can scan the QR code. It doesn't matter. With those tips, we'll also be providing booking information for next webinar invites and things like that. Now, I hope that has been a useful 25 or so minutes of your time. If you have questions, please get in touch. My email's at the bottom, but you'll get slides and an email from me to say thank you very much, and here are the slides. We'll provide a recording of this webinar. We'll tidy it up a bit and things like that. And I just hope it helps. Thank you very much for your time.